The First World War did not only destroy lives and landscapes, it destroyed rhythm. It dismantled the natural order by which people measured their days, their years, and their expectations of the future. Before 1914, time followed recognizable patterns: work and rest, seasons and holidays, youth and aging, beginnings and endings. The war shattered these patterns and replaced them with a new, unstable relationship to time itself. For millions, the Great War was not experienced as a sequence of dramatic moments, but as an endless distortion of routine, long periods of repetition interrupted by sudden catastrophe. Days felt too long. Years vanished without progress. Life became suspended between anticipation and exhaustion. This is the story of how World War I broke time, and how people struggled to live inside a rhythm that no longer made sense. The old order of time. Before the war, time was structured by familiarity. Rural life followed the agricultural calendar. Urban life followed factory shifts, school terms, and religious observances. Even hardship followed expectation. People understood what came next. War removed that certainty. Mobilization accelerated time violently. Weeks of preparation collapsed into days. Youth became adulthood overnight. Decisions were rushed, departures sudden, futures postponed without clarity. The familiar rhythm of life fractured before anyone could prepare for its replacement. What followed was not chaos, but monotony layered with fear. Days that refused to end. At the front, time slowed to a crawl. Soldiers lived inside routines designed to keep them alive rather than fulfilled. Stand to at dawn and dusk. Sentry duty. Equipment checks. Rations. Repairs. Waiting. Waiting defined everything. Men waited for orders that might never come, for attacks they sensed but could not predict, for letters delayed by distance and damage, for relief rotations postponed indefinitely. A single hour on watch could feel longer than an entire pre-war day. Boredom and vigilance existed simultaneously. The mind had to remain alert, while the body endured inactivity. This contradiction exhausted soldiers more deeply than combat itself. Time no longer passed. It pressed down. The shock of sudden moments. When action came, it arrived without warning. Silence shattered into violence. Stillness collapsed into movement. The contrast was so extreme that memory struggled to hold it. Moments of terror burned themselves into recollection, while months of waiting blurred together. Survivors remembered seconds with clarity, and years as fog. The war taught people that time did not move evenly. It lurched. Home front time. For civilians, time fractured differently, but no less painfully. Families lived according to mail schedules. Days revolved around waiting for letters. Weeks were measured by news reports, stripped of detail by censorship. Silence stretched unbearably. Children grew up without milestones. Birthdays passed quietly. Education paused. Adolescence shortened. Responsibility arrived early. Women managing households, factories, and farms lived in constant tension between routine and anxiety. Life continued. Meals cooked, work completed, yet nothing felt permanent. Time moved forward, but emotionally, many felt stuck. Time as a weapon. Governments understood the power of time. They delayed information, staggered announcements, prolonged mobilization, rationed resources, and extended the war effort through endurance rather than momentum. The war became one of attrition, not only of bodies, but of patience. Victory was no longer measured in territory gained, but in how long a nation could continue. Time itself became a battlefield. The long middle years. By the third year of war, something changed. Hope no longer attached itself to dates. Promises of a quick end lost meaning. People stopped asking when and focused only on how to endure. This middle period of the war was its heaviest. Not because of intensity, but because of duration. The sense that life had been paused too long to resume easily. Plans dissolved. Futures became hypothetical. The war felt less like an event and more like an environment. The end that felt unreal. When the armistice arrived, time did not immediately resume its old shape. Many struggled to believe the war was truly over. After years of repetition, the sudden stop felt dangerous. Silence seemed temporary. Celebration felt premature. Soldiers waited again, this time for transport home, for demobilization, for reintegration into lives that had continued without them. Civilians waited for reunions that sometimes never came, or came altered beyond recognition. Peace did not restore rhythm. It demanded a new one. Aftermath. Time that never returned. The post-war world lived with permanent temporal damage. Lost years could not be recovered. Careers began late. Families formed unevenly. Entire generations felt displaced from their expected life stages. Anniversaries became heavy. Memories resurfaced without warning. Time moved forward, but it carried the past with it. The war did not end when the guns stopped. It lingered in how people experienced aging, memory, and expectation. Legacy of the broken clock. World War I taught humanity that time was not neutral. It could be stretched, weaponized, and broken. It could exhaust as effectively as violence. It could erase futures without leaving visible scars. The Great War changed not only borders and societies, it changed how people lived inside time. And for many, the rhythm never fully returned.